Welcome back to another episode of Mic Check. Today we're going to be talking about our top 5 favorite movies of all time in honor of our 50th video posted on this channel. We thought that it was sort of appropriate to do because we have a lot to say about so many different movies. Why not discuss our favorite? So I think you should go first. And
My
then we'll go
fifth
back and
favorite
forth.
movie of all time is, coincidentally, my favorite Disney movie of all time, The Lion King. I can't really say much that hasn't been said before. It's a great take on a Shakespeare classic, Hamlet. I love the back and forth between the brothers versus brother. It may be a bit too comedic, but you need the comedy to balance the drama, which I love also. Great characters, amazing songs, every one of them. Elton John is a masterpiece when it comes to this. It's just an epic movie with epic proportions, and I can't just not put it on my list because it's amazing.
He looks blue. I'd say brownish gold.
I will move on to my number 5, which is Casablanca. Now, a lot of people might be thinking this is a little bit mainstream, and it is mainstream as far as like the Hollywood crowd. I know it's not mainstream in the typical sense, but the reason I really like this is because it's whenever people say like that classic cinema, the classic black and white cinema, there are films that people sort of perceive as being really boring, but this I don't think is one of those films. For me, it's like it's the inspiration that I get to want to be a part of Hollywood.
How much I still love you.
My fourth favorite film is actually a new one, La La Land. I love this because it's a great American classic tale involving all ages. Damien Chazelle tried something very different and unique with this film about a romance in a musical that wasn't more of like a pop thing, but more of like a classic Hollywood. Like you said, it got down to the nitty-gritty of like filmmaking.
How are you going to be a revolutionary if you're such a traditionalist? You're holding on to the past, but jazz is about the future.
Well, my fourth favorite film is, this is sort of the placeholder for one of my favorite franchises of all time, which is the Star Wars franchise. Not every single film, and my personal favorite, which is kind of an unpopular opinion, is Return of the Jedi. And I think I liked it since from when I was younger. And a lot of people liked it when they were younger, and then Empire Strikes Back becomes their favorite. Why don't I necessarily think Empire Strikes Back is my favorite? Well, I think number one, there's a lot of nostalgia linked to Return of the Jedi for me, but I also think that to Empire's credit, Return of the Jedi was able to conclude really well, have this very great conclusion to a story that I loved growing up and still continue to love. And I think that there's a lot of times where films kind of limp to a close, and I don't think this one did.
My third favorite film is not only my favorite science fiction movie, my favorite action movie, The Matrix. This movie is beyond words. It's mind-blowing. The stuff they were able to accomplish, they changed science fiction, they changed the way you look at imagery between like characters and how they perceive one another living in this realistic world versus the Matrix, and like what is life and where you live it. I love the action. The second half is non-stop action, but it still serves the character. Neo is a great character in my opinion, because a lot of movies try and do this where it's like you're the only one who can do this, you know, we need to look up to you, you're the leader. But Neo, it doesn't really want to. He refuses of the call basically, and then he becomes the one basically, and Neo is one if you look at it.
Yeah, the anagram.
The Wachowski brothers, or they're not brothers anymore.
The Wachowskis.
The Wachowskis, they managed to do something very special, and I saw it at a very young age. Maybe I wasn't supposed to, but I adore this movie. The sequels, maybe not so much.
Try to realize the truth.
What truth?
There is no spoon.
Moving on to my number 3, and completely switching gears from your number 3, is Beauty and the Beast. There's something about Beauty and the Beast that is just perfection to me. Like, I watch it and I find nothing wrong with it. Like, every single, if you were to, it doesn't matter if it's the Stockholm Syndrome, whatever, the realistic implications, whatever, the logistics, whatever, stuff that the newer one tried to change, whatever, anything that you could tell me to maybe switch, or, oh, maybe we could change this word, no. Absolutely not. Like, everything about this, it's the best of Disney. It's where Disney, who they are, comes out. But sometimes when who Disney is comes out, it's still kind of generic, and it's still like, oh, here's another Disney film. This reins everything together and has every single piece of the puzzle come together in just the right way.
I don't want to have anything to do with him.
She is being so difficult.
My second favorite movie of all time is, I love La La Land, but my favorite musical is Singing in the Rain. Wow, this movie is, like you said, it's a classic Hollywood genre-based movie about making movies, or about like what one actor does. He wants to make movies, but he wants to like get into the business, and how he gets into the business is my favorite scene of all time with his partner. The beginning montage is amazing, but the romance developed in this movie is actually farther more developed than in La La Land. It comes across where two different types of people who would never fall in love, they do. And it's the type of songs that you can just sing along, watch it, but you just sit back and enjoy it because of the marvel and the beauty behind it. I loved watching this in the theater. I got to see it a year ago, and seeing little kids dance and sing along with older people, that just melted my heart.
Yeah, what's the matter, R.F.?
The jazz singer, that's what's the matter, the jazz singer.
Oh, my darling little mammy, down in Alabama. My little
No, this is no joke, Cosmo.
My number 2 film, at quite appropriately 2, is Toy Story 2. This movie is such a good rescue movie, but then on the other hand, it's a great identity movie as well. Because when I was young, I loved the fun, and now nostalgic kind of thing. It's the most fun movie for me. It's where the characters, I think, are the most vibrant, and I think that Woody's identity here is something that he never really had to overcome, is because more or less, especially in Toy Story being the leader and in Toy Story 3 being the one no one listens to, he's always kind of right. He's kind of wants to be the control freak, and when he's not in control, everything, goes to crap. And when everything goes to crap, it only fuels his ego more that like, no, I'm right, you guys are wrong. But this one, it's one where it's like, no. Not only does he have to question his own toy mortality in a way, but he also has to come to terms with his identity as a human being, an individual character. And that's something that I really like with this movie.
Ride like the wind, bullseye!
Now, my favorite film of all time, you might not have guessed it, it's Place Beyond the Pines. I watched this movie once in the theater, and I love seeing movies again and again, but this movie, it may not have the rewatchability factor, but I was stunned. I was blown away after watching this. Like, my jaw dropped. It's a perfect 3-act structure film, and each act contains something that you don't really expect. It's very unpredictable. You may see the trailer and think what's to come, but you actually don't, because stuff happens. You're like, oh, I didn't actually see that coming. All the characters merge in this, like, epic story of, like, it's in a decade, I believe, and it all comes down together, and it's a character base for each of the acts as well. There's like different actors and characters in each act, but they all blend together magnificently, and I just adore it. It made me tear up. It made me rethink my life, and it may do that the same for you, where you go back and you're like, maybe I should have acted that way, or how am I like my parents' legacy, or how I should not act like my parents at all, because some of them may not live up to what you believe in, and so I love everything about it.
I can't think of another line of work that I'd rather be in.
My number 1 favorite film of all time is The Wizard of Oz. It's one of those fantasy films that is just so unequivocally a pinnacle of like our culture that when I watch it, I not only think of my personal connection to it, my nostalgia, my appreciation for it now, but just how it affects the world, and how, like, if you've never seen The Wizard of Oz, you must be one of 5 people in the world who's ever seen The Wizard of Oz, but you know or have heard some reference.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog too.
So
all the movies we listed are fantastic films. This is what cinema's made for. You study it in depth, and it's just research behind research. We love films, and we hope we recommend movies that maybe you're skeptical on seeing, maybe you have never heard of. And so we hope that gives you insight into not only these movies, but what we think of the movies as well, and what makes us, movie people.
Yeah, exactly. So, hope you enjoyed this video, and as usual, before you go see a movie, check in with us first. Thanks for watching. Bye.
You're Mufasa's boy.
Don't buy and sell human beings.
It's too bad that's Casablanca's leading commodity.
This is the dream. It's conflict, and it's compromise, and it's very, very exciting.
Is Darth Vader my father?
Look so
I'm so unsure.
stupid.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Ow! Ooh! All right, nobody look till I get my cork back in.
This is your problem. This is our problem, and I'm bringing it to your attention because that's what I should do.
There's no place like home.